Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Virtual Racers Club. Hello, good evening. You'll have to excuse me. Wow, that's loud. You'll have to excuse me. We're on a new mic, different mic, because the other one was crackling, and I didn't think it was going to work properly. So, hi guys. It probably sounds awful. I can't even do a test because it just started feedbacking from the microphone, because it's not a microphone that sits in front of my face, it's one that sits in the room. So it probably sounds really echoey and really horrible. So I'll order a new Palm Beach one off of eBay or Amazon or any other provider soon as. What have we got for you then? Everything's out of place because obviously I've been out of action for a few days. So we are looking back at the very first round of the Stock Car Challenge. I don't know why I'm in a Super GT 500. But we're looking back at the Stock Car Championship, round one. And what is the SCC? VRC Stock Car Championship is our take on NASCAR and oval racing. Drivers will battle on various oval circuits across the world in a knife-edge, high-speed game of chess. I bet it sounds really hollow, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to make it less hollow. Hello. That doesn't sound as hollow, does it? The championship overview is 6 rounds, 10 races. Qualifying will be one shot, but we don't see the qualifying, but they go out for one flying lap. The sprint races will be 15 minutes, fastest first with a rolling start, and the feature race is a 30-minute race on the previous result. Rolling start. I think it's a reverse of the previous result. There's not much else to tell you, really. They're using the Nissan Silver Spec R Aero S15 touring car. Fuel's on times at 5 with 20 litres of fuel rate. Oh, God, there's too much now. And the tyre wear is on times 5, and the day transition is on time 6. So I think that's everything we need to know. They've qualified, and we should see how they line up. See if I can remember how they are. Let's have a look at the chat, see people saying, oof, the voice is awful. Skyjacker, woohoo, feeling better than? Missed you. Skyjacker saying, sounds lovely as always. Pat saying, hiya, so good to hear you on here again. And Ensign, you're saying, I'm at work, but popping in to say hello. Well, hello, you guys. You can probably hear everything I put on the table as well, because this mic sucks. It's the one I got for, like, when I shared it with my kid. And we did that stream. And today, the Palm Beach thing was crackling. And I thought, that'll sound awful. I'll go and nick this off of my son again. Right, so let's get on with it. Let's have a look at the grid. Ooh, let's get paused. Let's get it paused. Let's get all the information up. God, I'm rusty. It's been a while. Right, what else do I want to do? Camera, the funny camera thing. Yeah, why not? Hey, why not? Okay. So on pole position, we have car number 20, which is a Talleyrand in a lovely orange and blue Nissan. Next down the road, we have a Big Dan in a Nissan, and that is a lovely Rich Energy car 34, looking to explode all over this series and leave his mark, I am sure. Car third place on the grid. Oh, look, it was doing this to me earlier. It keeps dunking. Is the Alpha Tauri of car number 11. That's Thingamajig. Then fourth on the grid, stop doing it, is Homesick Alien in the Tide livery, car 77. Next down the road, we have Skyjacker in the car 99, a Pink Monster. And further down the field, we have car number 4, another monster. And looking flash, swoosh, Swiss, I don't know, swoosh. Then we have a Digital Blasphemy in his colours. car number 6, and then behind him we have a Jokers in the green Monster, car number 80, and following car number 80 we have Koi Cup in the Red Bull Nissan. So that, I'm pretty sure is the grid. That's how they line up going into this 15-minute sprint race at Daytona. I don't think I told you where we were. We're at Daytona. And let's just sit back and enjoy this goodness. Here they go then. So yeah, Talleyrand, Big Dan, Thingamajig, Homesick, Skyjacker, Pat, Digi, Jokers, and I think it was Koi Cup. Coming around the first bend here at Daytona. The lights are not out yet. And it is a go. 15 minutes of racing here around the Daytona Oval. And Talleyrand leads them away from Big Dan, with Thingamajig not far behind them, trying to grab a toe somewhere along the way. Homesick Alien in 4th, with Skyjacker holding on to that 5th. Pat in 6th, getting very close to Skyjacker's rear end there. And Pat looking to come alive early doors in this race. Digi in 7th, being chased by Jokers in 8th. Jokers looking to go low, too wide, going down the straight between Jokers and Digi. Jokers just edging forward, and Digi knowing it's 15 minutes, not on one lap, so Digi letting him go, sitting there in the toe quite happily. And Koi Cup closing in on Digi as well. And at the moment, Digi not looking as fast as those around him. Talleyrand still holds the lead, but Big Dan is right there. Big Dan on his rear derriere, and them two are getting themselves into a little toe buddy system. And you push, I pull. I push, you pull. Between the Big Dan and the boss up there in the front of the pack. Thingamajig holding on to that 3rd. A little bit all on his own, but it looks like there's a pack coming together behind him, with Homesick, Skyjacker and Pat sitting on board with Pat. You can see the two ahead of him, Skyjacker and Homesick ahead of Skyjacker, chasing down Thingamajig at this point in the race. And looking back, oh, that's not looking back, hang on, I'll find the button. Looking back, you can see Jokers is right on Pat's tail also. And there you see, making their way round Pat then, just ahead of Jokers. Skyjacker pushing Homesick Alien along the road, with Thingamajig holding his own just ahead. And the toe not really helping Homesick catch up at the moment. Big Dan and Talleyrand in a race of their own out there in the front. And we're 2 minutes down into a 15-minute race already, and there is definitely a gap formed between Thingamajig. Now Thingamajig is in the pack. He has been caught by the Raptors that were chasing him, and Homesick Alien just ahead with Skyjacker in 5th. Jokers and Pat getting into their own shenanigans. They've decided to race rather than toe bud. And yes, a bit of door banging there between Pat and Jokers, fighting tooth and nail for that 6th spot, sorry, because it's Jokers ahead. And then meanwhile we have this train, and this train is catching up with Talleyrand and Big Dan. There is Thingamajig. He's definitely closed up to him. On board with Thingamajig behind him. He's got Homesick pushing him along with Skyjacker. Decisions will have to be made. Does Thingamajig, will one of them jump out of the train and try and be the leader? Choo choo. Or will they all just sit and wait? Only 3 minutes into a 15-minute race, still 12 minutes left before any action has to occur. Homesick slipping back a bit away, maybe lifting. And the fuel is down to 3/4 on Homesick Alien, as it is on Thingamajig. Big Dan, Thingamajig having a look at Big Dan then. Again, around the outside, he's thinking of going high. He's dancing around on his tail. And further back, that battle between Pat. Pat is back ahead of Jokers. We missed the action there. But Pat ahead of Jokers, now towing Jokers along. And Jokers happy to be towed, it seems. No, he's going for the move. No, sits back in again. and he's waiting for his moment. Pat then staying wide ahead. He's closing the door on Pat, not letting Pat get through, letting Jokers get through. I apologise. Koi Cup and Digi in their own personal battle down at the back there. And Digi dead last, just behind the Koi of Carps. And them two having themselves an immense battle for 8th and 9th. Up ahead though, Talaran still leads from Big Dan. And then there's Thingamajig with a Skyjacker and Homesick Alien. Homesick Alien slipping off the back of those guys. He's just decided to just take a moment, review what's going on. 165 miles an hour around the turn 1. And there you see the back of Skyjacker's car looking all kinds of glorious alongside Homesick Alien there in the Nissan Silver for the very first race of the Virtual Racers Club Stock Car Challenge. And Skyjack saying, is this a one-off treat today, or are we getting a feast? I'm not sure, man. I'll see how it goes. So Homesick Alien right on the tail of a Skyjacker. Skyjacker on the tail of Big Dan. Thingamajig has managed to shuffle himself ahead of Big Dan. And now Thingamajig behind the boss, looming large in his mirrors. Large, all of them are. Look at them, large in it. In the mirrors of the boss, but the boss cannot be shooken. And he is holding his own as now Big Dan and Skyjacker branch off into their own tow buddy system. And it's working. Big Dan now takes the lead, going high. There's 2 wide, 4 wide. My lord. And, looks like Thingamajig nearly put Homesick Alien into the wall there. Thingamajig travelling right to the top of the track. Who knows where he's going? Homesick Alien, though, managing to use that moment to get by. And now Homesick Alien is behind Talaran as Big Dan has moved into the lead with Skyjacker. We saw them branching off into their own tow buddy system. And yes, it has done wonders for Big Dan, putting him into first, and Skyjacker leaping from what, 4th? 5th possibly, up into 2nd. Sweet stuff. Talaran then, meanwhile, ahead of the Alien, and the Homesick Alien getting himself ahead of Thingamajig. Pat, Koi's made action happen. Koi Carp leaving Digi behind is coming through. He's caught Jokers. Jokers slipping off. Maybe had a war up or something somewhere. And yes, he's having to come back into it with Digi all over the back of Koi. These two pushing their way through. They're on about half a tank of fuel at 7 minutes, and it's not quite halfway, so fuel could be an issue around here at Daytona for these guys if they're not too careful with those fuel tanks. We will have to keep an eye on that, monitor the situation. We are halfway through the race now. Big Dan just under half a tank. Skyjacker a little less than Big Dan, but them two are tearing away in the lead of this race. There is Talleyrand dead on half. He knows his fuel, with Homesick Alien just under half, and Thingamajig just under half as well. And they're all in their own little battle there. Pat down in 6th. Still ahead of Koi, who's ahead of Digi. Oh, Digi disappeared. There he is. And Digi looking like a threat on Pat and Koi at the moment. I don't know what the gap is between Pat and Homesick, but it's quite a way. Homesick slipping to the back of that train as Thingamajig moves through, trying to get a move done on the boss, as Big Dan still leads the train. And it was 3 wide, 4 wide nearly there with Homesick. If you had a decent camera, there you go. And they've broken off into their own tow zones now, with Homesick getting a tow from Skyjacker, and Talleyrand getting a tow from Thingamajig, who's getting a tow from Big Dan. Is all about the tow here at Daytona, and Big Dan at the moment getting a tow from no one. He's burning through his fuel, and there goes Big Dan. He's gone low, and I think he's allowing them past. I think he wants them to come past, and it's 3 wide coming out of the final corner and down the straightaway. And it's Big Dan leading from Talleyrand with Thingamajig in the mix as well. And Skyjacker there also. Skyjacker getting a good tow, and Thingamajig's pulled out of the tow altogether. And Skyjacker now getting a tow with those guys, and it's slipped Thingamajig down somewhat into Homesick Alien territory. And that's it. Thingamajig down into 5th place, and Homesick Alien up into 4th with Skyjacker in 3rd. Big Dan and Talleyrand alongside each other, and no one can decide who is leading this race right now. And Skyjacker saying Daytona. Daytona. Yeah, it's in the name. Very clever. God, he's alive at half 3, isn't he? He's sparking on all cylinders. Thingamajig then on a move for the lead of the race. You don't often see it. You hear about it, you never see it. And there is Thingamajig officially leading the race at 10 minutes, 5 minutes to go. And Thingamajig probably cannot understand how he's just overtaken everyone. And that, I suspect, is because everyone else is starting to lift and look after that fuel. Thingamajig at the moment, though, he's just under a quarter of a tank of fuel. Homesick Alien just on a quarter of a tank of fuel. Skyjacker just on a quarter of a tank of fuel. Talleyrand's got the best out of the lot of them. Just over a quarter of a tank. Big Dan is on a quarter of a tank. Pat, he's just moved on to a quarter of a tank, and Digi is on a quarter of a tank. I think quarter of the tank is the way to go in this one. And everyone else seems to be doing okay. Thingamajig absolutely tearing away now, not realising the consequences of his actions. And Homesick Alien in 2nd with Talleyrand having a look for that final podium position, but he's going to have to fight the pink monster for it, because Car 99 has planted himself in a podium position. Then he's deciding not to move now. Thingamajig's pulled right out to the outside. Is he realising the fuel issue he's got? Or is he just giving way and wanting to get a tow? He tries to pull back in to get a tow from Homesick, but Skyjacker says, nope, it's already taken. Use the next door. And Thingamajig again, just sitting alongside, and I think using more fuel than everyone else, managing to stay out of the tow, but on pace with them. When they're all looking after fuel, I believe. Homesick Alien there, leading the way from Thingamajig, who is being absolutely clueless out there, showing his noobness. And again, Thingamajig back into the lead, caring less about fuel than anyone else on the track. Homesick Alien now, using him as a tow buddy. And Talleyrand in their 3rd. Skyjacker, oh no, why does it do that? Skyjacker then 4th, sat just behind Talleyrand, and he's got Big Dan chasing him down. Well, Big Dan's dropped off. Oh, maybe Big Dan's looked at his fuel tank and has concerns, because Big Dan has dropped a long way off of Skyjacker now, and he's a bit ahead of Digi, who's ahead of Pat now. Jokus and Koikap is right at the back. I don't know how that's happened. And Thingamajig now, his fuel is flashing, and we're not quite at the 13-minute mark. 2 more minutes of going around Daytona, and Thingamajig oblivious to the fuel he's consumed, with Homesick Alien in a strong 2nd place there, looking to get the move done, with Talleyrand dropping back as well. Also, well, he was doing the best on fuel, and I think Talleyrand's the man to watch come the end. I think he's going to be able to full throttle this one on the white flag lap and really put it to bed. But at the moment, Thingamajig leads the way, flashing fuel tank, and he's going to look like he's got egg on his face pretty soon, with Homesick Alien and Talleyrand in tow, and Skyjacker, the sun getting low here at Daytona. Skyjacker's fuel now starting to flash at 13.5 minutes, still 1.5 minutes of racing around the oval track here at Florida. And Big Dan in 5th, with Digi in 6th, Pat in 7th, Jokus in 8th, and Koikap, he's a mile off of the pack now. And Thingamajig starting to think about how how he's going to celebrate on the podium. Coming into the final minute of the race, holding that lead, thinking he is the DBs and seeing the cars ahead, and thingamajig leads going into what could be the final lap of the race. Talleyrand now moving up into second with Skyjack as a home six dropped right off. He's seen his fuel flashing. He's now fuel saving until the end of the race. I think Thingamajig's just decided to full bolt it all the way, and now he's pulled away. He's ran out of fuel. And it's Skyjacker that takes over the lead from Talleyrand, but Skyjacker's fuel is not much better than Thingamajig's, and now Talleyrand with the best fuel conserve in the race. We saw earlier, and Big Dan coming back from nowhere. He also saved fuel like an absolute maniac, and it's between Talleyrand and Big Dan, but there's 15 seconds on the clock. They might make the flag before it comes out. They might make the line. There is Thingamajig crawling to the line with the egg on his face, and they do. They cross the line before the timer runs out. So Talleyrand, Skyjacker, and Big Dan on a white flag, and most of the field gets through. It's Digi comes home in 7th place. Sorry, I can't move around. I lean back, and Koikart gets 8th with Thingamajig crawling to 9th, and it's Talleyrand. Look at this, an absolute canyon he's pulled out ahead of the rest of the field, planning his fuel so much better in this race, and Talleyrand comes home to take the win. I don't know if they're going to cross the line. I don't know what the countdown's like. Hate timed races so much. And here he is then. Talleyrand comes around. Is there any more hustle and bustle? Joker's up into 3rd with Homesick Alien 4th. He's coming back at him though. Talleyrand comes up towards the line. He's going to cross the line first and take the first win of the series. And there he is, Talleyrand. Super win, super drive. Homesick Alien there. Looks like he's got 2nd place. His fuel doing it's a race of fuel, wasn't it, with Pat. Pat on the podium. Take a boo, my son. Well done, Pat. Hang on, we'll pause that. So Pat, brilliant drive to get himself 3rd place. We saw him driving around at the back there, and obviously fuel conserving, and in the end that final white flag lap he came to life and took the podium position from Skyjacker, who had now left in the tank. Jokus looked like he had now left in the tank and hit a wall. And poor old Jokus on the final lap, looks like he was in with a podium shout. Big Dan we saw coming alive right on that final lap, took the lead. I thought he'd done enough to save the fuel and get the win done, but obviously his tank was against him in that final run, and he's found himself out of fuel, crawling to the line. Digital Blasphemy, it looks like he had fuel issues on that final lap, as well as, well, Koikart still had fuel left there, saved his fuel, but didn't really gain anything from that final lap from it, and Thingamajig ran out of fuel way before everyone else because he doesn't look at his fuel tank. And it's Talleyrand who got the win with Homesick Alien in 2nd, and Pat rounding out your podium. Fantastic drive there from all involved, and we'll watch Big Dan cross the line before we move on to the feature race, the 30-minute race. And Big Dan, no fuel, crawling towards the line. Sorry, you can hear me put things on the table. If I have a hot beverage, you're going to know about it. More chat in the chat. Ooh, sorry. And there you go, he didn't even get to cross the line. So in the chat we've got Skyjacker saying, now mate, my brain is melting down my spine. And Skyjacker says, the fuel, oh, the fuel, man. But hey, I've seen some YouTube videos of NASCAR, and they do run out of fuel. I've seen them driving that final lap, and they're wiggling around trying to get the fuel to last. It's real. So that was the first race, the sprint race. Then we have to go through all this gubbins and try and find, come on, everything. Oh God, I think it's this one. No, that's the second round. You don't want that yet. You don't want that yet, do you? You want the first round. Where is the first round? Is this not in my items? Sorry guys, it's a new game, relatively. I should know how to use it by now, but there you go. I think this is it. Finally, we're here. You watch, he'll tell you the finishing positions now as we go into it. So, going into a 30-minute race with a mandatory hard tyre, I believe. Although I can't see it on here. But I believe it is a mandatory hard tyre. Hang on, I might be able to go somewhere else and look. Feature race, mandatory tyre. Racing hard must be used at least once per the race. So we're going into the 30-minute race with, I think, a reverse grid, if I'm correct. And don't look at the side. Don't look at the side because I think it tells you the results. Here we go, in the dark at Daytona then. 30 minutes of racing. Sorry. I hate this game. And they're away. Thingamajig leading the way from Koi Carp with Digital Blasphemy in third, Big Dan fourth, Joker starting in fifth with Skyjacker sixth, Homesick Alien starting in seventh, Pat already ahead of Homesick Alien, I was surprised about that, and Talleyrand in ninth place, and maybe Pat had a bit of an issue getting off of the line. Looks to me like most people have started on the hards. There's Thingamajig. He's got Koi Carp already up in his business, but maybe Thingamajig, being burnt with the fuel in the first sprint race, has decided to try and save the fuel a little, maybe early doors, but Koi Carp trying to get by, not quite executing it, and behind them we've got Digital Blasphemy and Dan, and they all join a tow train, and Thingamajig wants to stay way out of it, it looks like. Now he's tucked in to grab the tow, but he's knocked the wall, and that's not going to help him. That's going to cause a divide, and Joker's hurtling towards fourth place with Skyjacker, Homesick Alien, Pat and Talleyrand in their own little pocket, their own little isolation pocket, pushing each other along on board. With race winner from race one, we can see Talleyrand, Koi Carp's taken the lead, Digi in second, Big Dan in third, and Talleyrand in ninth, just behind Pat, Homesick, Skyjacker and Jokers, their own little push crew. Sat alongside Talleyrand as we make our way around. Oh, a big knock from Pat there, and Talleyrand feeling a huge rear quarter of Pat's Nissan, and nearly putting him out of the run. But Koi Carp then, purples for him is lap 3, so it does count. And Koi Carp then ahead of Digi. They're all on racing hard tyres, I believe, aren't we? Koi Carp's on racing hards, Digi's on hards, and so is Big Dan. The top 3 all on racing hards, with Thingamajig in fourth, just trying to stay with them, I imagine. Doesn't want to lose the tow, doesn't want to burn the fuel. Joker's then in fifth, and he can't even see that front crew. He's leading his little gang behind him with Skyjacker and Homesick, Pat, Talleyrand, all in a crew. But there, Skyjacker deciding to go by. They're all going by. Oh, I don't know if Jokers might have knocked the wall or something. Something must have slowed him down. Or he lifted to let him by and thought, I'll sit in your guys' toes for a bit. We've got a 30-minute race here, and there is nothing to be gained on lap 3. Sitting in front of everyone, burning my fuel out. So Joker's slipping to the back, but it's Koi Carp who leads this race at the moment, ahead of Digital Blasphemy and Big Dan, on board with Big Dan in that top 3 fight, and Big Dan being one of the ones that ran out of fuel in the sprint race with Skyjacker and Thingamajig. He should have some awareness of his fuel. It's already down to a quarter of it. Well, he's already used a quarter of a tank as they burn through that golden syrup goodness. It smells so nice. How can they replace it with electricity? Electricity's really bad for you, you know. Petrol's lush. It smells nice. So Koi Carp then out there in the lead. He's pulled out a gap on a Digital Blasphemy. The fuel is looking about the same for all of them, with Thingamajig down there in 4th place with Skyjacker a little further back. He's leading his pack with Skyjacker, Talleyrand, Jokus, Homesick Alien. Pat's dropped behind somewhat, but it shouldn't take too long to claim the back of the pack unless they all push each other away. And there is Homesick Alien's lovely looking car. Where did he finish? I didn't notice. Was he second? I think he was second, wasn't he, in that first race? Pat in third. So Homesick Alien's championship starting great for a second place. And he'll be looking to finish higher than 8th so far, but he's a wily old cat. Is Homesick Alien. He'll be sat there saving fuel like no one else. He's great with his fuel, and he brings the Ford replica. I keep calling them Nissans, but he's made his look like a Ford, which is cool. And Pat, I thought I saw Chevy on Talleyrand's, so very cool. So Koi Carp is still leading the way. We're only 5 minutes into the race. Digital Blasphemy just behind him with Big Dan in tow. And those three have broken away from Thingamajig. Thingamajig slipped back. Look, Thingamajig is really trying to look after that fuel. And he's doing a good job of it. He's got a lot more fuel than... No, he hasn't. No, even when he's trying to save fuel, he isn't doing a very good job of it. But Skyjacker then in 4th place ahead of Talleyrand. Jokus now, oh wait, why does it do that? Jokus there is in 6th ahead of Homesick Alien, and Thingamajig slipping in behind Homesick, and just waiting, I guess, for the race to develop in whatever way it can. They're waiting for that first person to make a pit, and I imagine not until 15 minutes at the very least would someone come in. We saw the tyres didn't seem to go off in the sprint race, so soft tyres can make the distance, but it really is that fuel. If the fuel can go to the halfway point in the race, then they're golden. Pat then in 9th, podium sitter from the first race, and he's looking after his fuel best he can. I think they all are really trying to look after that fuel. They're all around about the halfway mark at 7 minutes, which isn't really where they want to be. They need more fuel than that. Big Dan then moves ahead of Digi in this train. We'll get on board with Digi alongside him even. So we're alongside Digital Blasphemy, watching this race develop ahead of us with Koi Carp, Big Dan and Digital Blasphemy. And in the chat we've got Bandit, or Bendit, sorry, saying, "Hey Thingy, good to hear your voice again." Oh, bless you, man. Thanks. I've been through a war. Nah, I'm alright. It hasn't been too bad. So Digital Blasphemy then takes the lead of the race ahead of Koi Carp, and Big Dan there in 3rd. And I'm going to try and do another sound check. Hang on. That's cool. I just wanted to make sure you could hear the engine sounds. Clunk clunk. So Digital Blasphemy is leading this race with Big Dan. Koi Carp in 3rd, them 3 have really broken away from the pack. It's quite a far distance back now. You're looking at Skyjacker, Talleyrand, Homesick and Jokus all doing their thing, and they're doing good with the fuel. Oh, Homesick's doing very well with the fuel. Better than everyone around him is Homesick Alien doing with the fuel, and Thingamajig is on half a tank, and so is Pat, and Digital Blasphemy on half a tank at 8 coming up to 9 minutes. So they've made that fuel last better than I expected them to. Big Dan and Koi Carp, them 3 haven't compromised themselves. Being up there, being out ahead, Koikap's used a little more fuel than the guys around him. But, you know, being that far ahead of Skyjacker with similar fuel, that's not bad going. That's a great leap at the moment. You've got to say, Homesick Alien doing the best on the fuel, with everyone around him being on half a tank and him being just over half a tank. So Homesick Alien sitting pretty in 6th place, with Talleyrand, Skyjacker, Jokus and Thingamajig all around him, on board with Thingamajig. This is what he's looking at. All these cars ahead of him. And they were doing 165. Roughly 165 in the sprint race, and at the moment Thingamajig's not getting much over 150, but he is losing the toe somewhat. So yeah, I think they're all trying to, in their own way, save fuel best they can. There's a lift there from Thingamajig down the straight. He's trying to do a lift. Just let Jokers take him along for the ride. So they're all trying to save fuel in their own way. And Pat dropping off there, but he might be closing up. A 56 from Pat. Thingamajig's doing 56s as well. Jokers is doing 57 last time around. Homesick did a 57. Skyjacker 56. Talleyrand doing a 56.8. Then we've got the leaders, who's done a 56.3 Digital Blasphemy. Big Dan a 56.3 also, and Koikap a 56.7. But Koikap now trickling down to nearly a quarter of a tank of fuel left. Digital Blasphemy has done absolutely amazing with his fuel up there in the front. Big Dan not as good. So at the moment, Digital Blasphemy sitting very pretty on the fuel barrel out there in the top 3. Talleyrand and Skyjacker have made a break from Homesick Alien, who's made a break from Jokers. Jokers trying to stay with him, and he's got Thingamajig in his wake also, in 8th place. No sign of pit stops yet. We're coming up to the 12-minute mark in this race, and no one is showing their hand so far. No early pit stops. Getting on those soft tyres, it could be a big benefit, but it's the fuel. The fuel is a huge issue coming from the sprint race. I think it caught a couple of people out, and going into this feature race now, these guys know they cannot try and be clever with an early pit stop or go onto the soft tyres early doors, because it's going to cost them at the end of the race for fuel. So it's a knife-edge gamble of when to make the call to come in. And I believe these guys are going to try and make the hards and the fuel last as late in the race as possible, so they can run as rich on the soft tyres as they can at the end of the race. But that's just my guessing. Digital Blasphemy is leading from Big Dan. Big Dan going for a move with the help of Koikap on push, and Big Dan is through, and it's Big Dan ahead of Koikap, and it's Digital Blasphemy dropping down into a 3rd. Not quite. Side-by-side action from Koikap. They're both battling over Dan's toe, his slipstream, and neither of them, it's Koikap that picks it up in the end, and Digital Blasphemy drives the wall of death around the outside and then tucks in to grab a toe from his fellow contemporaries as they go side by side. And Koikap now takes the lead of the race, and it's Koikap, like the first lap, is back in the lead of this race ahead of Big Dan and Digital Blasphemy. Talleyrand has taken that race with Skyjacker. They're all on their own. I say, what? It's got a weird hobby thing, these replays. Yeah, I'm not clicking extra on the buttons. It just seems to hop an extra person. So Talleyrand ahead of Skyjacker. First world problems, right? And now Homesick Alien closing in. Are they trying to save fuel? It's down to a quarter of a tank. We're nearly at 14 minutes into the race, and the fuel is looking great on Homesick Alien. Is Homesick Alien going to try and go all the way? He can't. He's over half a tank. He'd have to fuel save too harshly come the end of the race. Joker's there in 7th. He's down to a quarter of a tank of fuel. Thingamajig, just under a quarter of a tank of fuel. He's looking to see what is on. Pat, just under as well on a quarter of a tank of fuel. The podium sitter from race 1 is not doing so well with the fuel. He's on par with Koikart's fuel is now flashing. He's virtually halfway through this race and he is looking to go in the pit lane. I tried to put my cup down miles away from the microphone. It's still clunk clunk. I've even put the microphone on a little mat, like loads of paper, not mat, but a pad with loads of paper, thinking that'll muffle any table action, but it obviously didn't. So Koikart then leads this race, but his fuel is flashing. Big Dan just behind him. He's got a bit more fuel than Koi, then can go a little longer. Digital Blasphemy still doing well with fuel, and it's Big Dan. Big Dan pulled the trigger. Where? Come on, go to Big Dan. Why not? Oh man, something weird's happening. I don't know if it's the controller or if just this game's bugged out because someone updated it. I can't go. It's so annoying. So Koikart there is leading the way with Digital Blasphemy in 2nd. Talleyrand is up into 3rd. It's only Big Dan that's made the decision to make a pit stop. That means he's got nobody to tow him around on his outlap. That is catastrophe for him. He, I imagine, wished one of them at least come in with him. He should have just, well, I don't know what you can say. Homesick Alien in 4th, chasing Skyjacker, and then you've got Jokers in 6th. In the Green Monster, and these guys all using each other's toes. Thingamajig as fuel is just started flashing, and he has not saved fuel well at all next to the guys ahead of him. Koikart comes in also, so Digital Blasphemy carries on out there in the lead all on his own. Big Dan's come out of the pits. He's put racing hards on again. He's opted not to use the soft tyre whatsoever. He's gone to the hards. They don't have to use the soft tyre. There's nothing saying they have to use the soft tyre. And Big Dan opting to go for another set of hards, it seems. Pass come in. Oh man, it don't let you flick past people when they're in the pit lane. That's new. Digital Blasphemy out there in the lead with Talleyrand in 2nd, Homesick Alien in 3rd, Skyjacker in 4th, and my word, the strategists are driving themselves crazy at the moment, passing the pits. Big Dan then moves up a position. He's there with Koi going quite slow on track, and Koi's gone out on hards as well. I think that's probably an issue with the replay. I imagine they have gone out on the softs. So Digital Blasphemy into the pits, because it says all of them are on hards, and I can't see why they would put hards on for the last part of the race. So Thingamajig, he brings, no, he doesn't know where the pit lane is. No, he's missed the pit lane. He's opted to go round again. Maybe he's watching the guys ahead of him, hoping to pit when they pit. Digital Blasphemy into the pits, then he comes out, joins the track behind Thingamajig. He was the race leader. Again, that says he's gone on to race. Oh, they're not changing their tyres. Oh, hello. They've not changed their tyres at all. They've just gone for the racing hards and left them on. Oh, well, that's one way of doing it, I suppose. So Homesick Alien leads this race from Skyjacker. Talleyrand drops behind these guys, but they're all, well, Talleyrand needs fuel. Jokers then up into 4th. Thingamajig, he's running on vapours at the moment. And Big Dan is in 6th, the first to pit stop out of everyone, and no one changed tyres. That's very clever. I'm not that clever, you'll see in a minute. I'm not that clever. They didn't even fill up the cars, did they? Look, well, pretty much filled the cars up. It was the tyre pit stop then, the tyres. So Homesick Alien leads this little group with Skyjacker in 2nd, Talleyrand in 3rd, and Jokers in 4th place. Big Dan 5th. He's waiting for those guys ahead of him to pit, and he could be back in the lead of this race with Koikarp in 2nd, but he didn't stay with Big Dan. So Koikarp's lost the toe of Big Dan, and Digital Blasphemy has streamed out behind Koikarp. So if Digital Blasphemy wants to win, He's really got to go forth and try and fight for it. Thingamajig comes out of the pits. Oh look, he's put soft tyres on because he's clueless. And he's filled his car up when it probably only needs 3/4 of a fuel tank to go there. So Thingamajig has really dicked himself in this race. Jokus now leads as the rest of the pack come in. And that could be fatal for Jokus. He's lost the toe. He's lost the toe as Homesick, Skyjacker and Talleyrand all come into pit lane to get refueled. And I bet they don't change tyres as well because they know what they're doing. Jokus then is leading the way with Big Dan in second place. And this could be Big Dan's race. He's got Koikarp chasing him down. Koikarp a little better on fuel, but we're coming into the 20th minute of racing. We're well into the 19th minute, coming up to the 20th minute of this 30-minute race. And it could be anyone's at this point. Digital Blasphemy in fourth. Then we have a Skyjacker out. He didn't change his tyres. He knew what he's doing. And look, only half a tank of fuel. Not bad. Homesick Alien's gone full tank. Also didn't change his tyres. And Jokus now goes into the pits with Talleyrand coming out behind Pat. He changed his tyres. He did the same thing as Thingamajig done. And it's really cost him in the pit lane and it's put him behind. My word. So... Jokus then is in pit lane, filling up. That is a sexy looking car, Jokus. Well done. And he gets back out again. Who's he going to be? He was following Homesick Alien. Will he beat Pat out? Pat coming around. He's not that far behind the Alien and Skyjacker. It's not a huge gap for Jokus to slot into. And I think they're already by him, aren't they? They're already by. Where is Jokus? Jokus has come out up into fourth. Wow, great stop by Jokus. I was expecting him to be behind Homesick Alien and Skyjacker and ahead of Pat, and he's jumped. He's had a huge jump. Remember, Homesick Alien did have a major fill when he went in, even though they didn't change tyres. Jokus also didn't change tyres, and he's been caught quite easily by Homesick Alien and Skyjacker as they bump draft their way by Jokus, and Jokus now in sixth place. So your running order with only less than 9 minutes to go in this race is Big Dan leading with half a tank of fuel. Should be enough. Then we've got Digital Blasphemy, 3/4 of a tank of fuel. He doesn't have to save at all. He can just absolutely floor it if he wishes to. Koikarp behind him, also good on fuel. And that's looking like a strong top three there with Big Dan, Digital Blasphemy and Koikarp. I can't see much changing from here to the checkered flag. Homesick Alien in fourth with a battle with Skyjacker. Skyjacker, though, put in only half the amount of fuel that Homesick done. So I think Skyjacker has to sit behind Homesick. He's just getting a tow. I think he's going to try and save the fuel all the way to the end. Jokus there, last to pit, unbelievable with his fuel. He's getting a tow from them guys ahead of him, and I think he's got the similar fuel as Skyjacker, so it's tight for Jokus and Skyjacker come the end of the race. Pat then in seventh place, podium in the first race, remember, so don't count him out. It all came on that final lap for Pat. So Pat just waiting, biding his time. Talleyrand in eighth with a Thingamajig in ninth. The two only to change their tyres to softs. And at the time when I was racing, I thought it's because I filled up. And now, watching the replay back, I realise it's because I changed the tyres. Big Dan then leading the way. Is this it for Big Dan? We have got 7 minutes left of racing here at Daytona in the dark. And Big Dan looking absolutely energised by his sponsors, Rich Energy. And he's bringing that Nissan all the way. But Digi is catching him. Digi does seem to be catching him. And Digital Blasphemy looks like he wants to put on a race for the end here as we head up towards the back straight. And turn. Is that just 2 turns? 3 turns? Does the one, what number turn does the one on the actual start finish count as? You start on that turn. Anyway. So Digital Blasphemy then chasing down Big Dan. These two can push themselves away from Koi, but Koi's fuel was questionable, although it looks fine. So Koikap there, still in the battle for a podium position, and a Big Dan, I saw smoke between the two of them. I didn't know if there was a clash. And Digi going high, looking for a way past Big Dan. Big Dan holding ground and making Digi do the work for it. Use your fuel. Big Dan says, you use your fuel, I'm just going to do me. Again, at that double jump. Why? So we're watching the battle between Digi and Big Dan for the win. And we're coming up to the final 5 minutes. There is Koi in third, Skyjacker in fourth, and Homesick and Sky have had a little battle all the way through this one. Homesick Alien had a lot more fuel on board. He's not had to look after that fuel for this second half of this race. Somewhat, I think Skyjacker has had to, but half a tank of fuel for the final 5 minutes might be enough fuel, you know. I think Skyjacker might be okay. With Homesick Alien trying to push him along. Jokus in sixth spot, having a good race. I thought it could have been ahead of Skyjacker and Homesick. He came out of the pits ahead of them and somehow wasn't up to pit pace like they were and fell behind them. But if Skyjacker does run out of fuel, Joker's there, although Joker's is on similar fuel as Skyjacker, so I can't see it happening. Pat in a solid 7th place at the moment, ahead of Talleyrand, who, like Thingamajig, put the soft tyres on and made his pit stop a little longer than everybody else's. And Thingamajig, look at all that fuel, and Talleyrand. So looking up at the sharp end, they're side by side coming down. It's a drag race. And we've still got 4 minutes left of racing, and these two are going to race every single second of it, all the way to the checkered flag. And it's still Big Dan in the lead from Digi. And Digital Blasphemy will be looking for a way past Ensign Hewitt, with Koikap a little behind them now in third. I don't think Koikap's going to be able to catch these guys up in the next couple of minutes, unless they really slow each other down, but I think they're pushing each other. That looks like Digital Blasphemy pushing Big Dan out of the way of Koi, and they've left Koi behind. Koi's in no man's land now. There's nothing he can do about this race. Homesick Alien and Skyjacker are still battling on, and Skyjacker's fuel's still okay. He's not got as much as Joker's though. Joker's closing in the back of his fellow monster runner. And it is Tide an energy drink? It's not an energy drink, but it's a soft drink, isn't it? So that's definitely the battle of the supermarket drinks or whatever. Pat also Monster. With Talleyrand. He could be Iron Brew really with those colours, but it's Gulf is his main sponsor on that car. With Thingamajig is also really an energy drink, but it's their clothes company, Alpha Torre. But nothing happening down there. Digital Blasphemy still trying, and we are at 2.5 minutes as they cross the line, side by side virtually. Digital Blasphemy is nose just ahead of Big Dan, and this really is a battle for the win here, with Big Dan and Digital Blasphemy going balls out all the way to the checkered flag, and it's Big Dan back ahead of Digital Blasphemy. Koikap still okay for a podium position. I don't think Homesick, Skyjacker or Jokus are going to catch him in this race. So safe keepings for Koikap's podium position there. Pat 7th place. Is he being caught by Talleyrand? Talleyrand on those softer tyres doing a similar lap time really. So it looks to me like Talleyrand and Thingamajig are going nowhere. But Digital Blasphemy at the moment ahead of Big Dan again. So Digital Blasphemy pulling ahead. And we are into the last minute and a half of this 30-minute race. And from the off, Koikap, Digital Blasphemy and Big Dan pulled away from the pack. We thought they were going to burn their fuel out, but no, they drove a blinder, all three of them, for their podium positions. They got that on the first lap. And a homesick alien, fuel saved like crazy in this race and has come through for 4th place so far. We're going into the final minute of racing. Skyjacker's fuel is flashing. Skyjacker's fuel is flashing. We've only got a minute on the clock. Joker's swinging one way and Joker's fuel is flashing also. These two guys may run out of fuel. Pat's fuel is only just flashing. I think that's enough. I think he's going to be okay. Talleyrand and Thingamajig both with plenty of fuel on board. And it's Digital Blasphemy. Big Dan's dropped off. Big Dan's dropped off. Is it fuel related? It is. It is as we go into the last 30 seconds. And Digital Blasphemy easily pulls away from Big Dan as he looks after his fuel tank. And Koikarp still possibly could get another position in this race. And this isn't a crazy outcome. Can Big Dan squirt that car all the way to the end as the clock says 10 seconds? We've got a group of cars going across the line. But I think they're all going to make it across as Digital Blasphemy pulls away from Big Dan and Koikarp closing in on Big Dan. Can he keep it as Digital Blasphemy comes around that final corner to claim the win as his own? And what a drive from Digital Blasphemy in round 1. Great stuff from Digi to take the win. Big Dan, he's going to get that 2nd place. The fuel tank's going to hold out for him. He's going to make it to the line. And it's Big Dan in 2nd and Koikarp in 3rd. Take a blue, my son. Homesick Alien brings it into the final part of the track. And he takes checkered flag for 4th place. Joker's there in 5th. And oh my God, Skyjacker must have run out of fuel. And Joker's just makes it with his fuel. Pat gets across the line as well for 6th. Talleyrand is in 7th. And there is Skyjacker all out of fuel. And Thingamajig playing silly buggers. I think Thingamajig's trying to recreate the Cars movie where Lightning McQueen pushes the old guy across the line. And I don't think Skyjacker wants to play that game. But here they go, coming up to the checkered flag. And Skyjacker pulls a manoeuvre out of the bag and makes Thingamajig. And then Thingamajig's trying to slow down. He doesn't want to take the points from the old man, but and he's trying to turn away from the line. And he does. He pulls away from the line, and then Skyjacker decides, no, sir. I will not cross that line before you. So, and Thingamajig obviously got sick of it and then crossed the line. And we'll pause that there. The silly boys at the end, they're playing silly buggers. Oh. So, they're as bad on track as they are when they're in the comms box together or doing the pit stop together. Look at them. Tomfoolery. And Talleyrand shall have them in the office. Give him a dressing down like Gunther would. So Digital Blasphemy grabbed the win. Who grabbed the win in the first race? Can anyone remember? Or was it Talleyrand? I think it was Talleyrand. Talleyrand, Homesick and Pat, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I'm going for. So, and Digital taking the 2nd win. Great stuff from Digi. With Big Dan on the podium and Koikarp also. Great to see those guys up there shaking their tail feathers. Beautiful stuff. Homesick Alien getting 4th with Joker's there in 5th. Is that the best you can do with camera? Pat, that's a beautiful car, Pat, gets himself 6th place. Talleyrand 7th with a Thingamajig in the end. After all that funny arsing about, gets 8th. Ahead of the pink monster Skyjacker. Very thirsty Skyjacker. He used all that fuel or didn't put enough fuel in. One or the other. So that was round 1 of the Stock Car Championship. And my word, it's going to be a blighter, isn't it? 6 weeks of pure stock car racing. It's fantastic. Skyjacker saying, oh, the shame. And Skyjacker also saying, awaiting the telling off from the boss man. We'll both be up there. Right then, that, ladies and gentlemen, was that. That's round 1. And I know Skyjacker's hoping for a whole feast of streams. We have got a few in the bank ready to come at you. So let me take this opportunity to tell you, you've got to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Because liking it is good for my ego, and subscribing, it lets you know when we're doing a live stream. So if you really want to get a personal thing going on, if you touch my bell end, then it'll notify you. It will actually give you a message telling you we're streaming. But you really got to be into it before you start touching that bell end. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because we've got another 3 replays coming at you at some point in the next few days, possibly. I don't know if the game's fixed. I don't even think you can still stream live anymore, stream the actual racing live. I don't think they're going to fix it until the next update. So that's a whole month of not being able to stream live. We'll try it on Thursday. I think that's the next race that's planned. But and I think there's a test tonight, so we can try that. But none of that is bothering you. I've got the Suzuki Swift Endurance Cup Challenge Championship final round at Bathurst to get through. I've got the WRX Challenge, an endurance race at Bathurst to bring to you. And I also have another round of the Stock Car Championship from Blue Moon. I see you standing alone, to bring to you. So yes, that's 3 replays all lined up, juicy and ready to go. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you really don't want to miss any of the action, you can just touch my bell, and you know what I mean. Just get your little finger and just wipe it over the end there. Oh yeah, that's how it's nice. So, okay. I think that's everything. I don't think there's anything more to say. We've said enough. Don't forget to check out our website, www.virtualracersclub.co.uk, and that gives you all the information that you need, all of the information, and maybe even a little bit too much information. But that's just down to your preference. You'll have to have a look and see if there's just too much information on there. I think there's just enough information, but you might go there and think, oof, that's just too much information. We'll see. Right then, that's everything. I was your broadcaster and your commentator, Jenny Talwarts. Thank you for joining us here at the VRC. We really appreciate it. Peace and love. Peace and love. If you want to be with me, baby, there's a price to pay. I'm a genie in a bottle. You gotta rub me the right way. Christina Aguilera.